Gary Simon here of DesignCourse.com, and today we're doing the design challenge number 18, logo design for a fictional company called Air Coach. And it's basically a new company that gives customers skydiving lessons. All right, so the requirements, most of you watching this already know these, so I'm just going to skip this. The deadline was yesterday, so let's go ahead. We got quite a bit of entries, got 2 pages, 30-something entries, I think. So I'll move right along. Now, one thing that we did different in this week, I required a brief explanation behind the concept. All right, so unfortunately, Balfi or whatever did not do that. Although we can kind of see, this is a very literal representation. Now, when it comes to logo design, I try to stay a little bit more on the unique / abstract path in terms of creating the logo and the symbolism behind it. So, we have a very literal plane and a person falling out of it. I also don't really like this too close when it comes to, I know there's a separation, there's a stroke around the text, but it's still too close. If we were to scale this logo down, it would probably look a little bit blurry when it's used maybe on a regular size for like a website, for example. So same thing right here. You want to try to separate your forms a little bit more than this. All right, but thanks for the entry. All right, so this one, it's a whistle and wings. Okay, so looking at this, you wouldn't be able to tell exactly what this is upon immediately looking at it. So that would be my only concern. I mean, yeah, you could see the whistle form, but just looking at it initially, if you had no clue about what this business is, that might be a little bit difficult to tell. So that's one of the only downsides. I actually kind of like the type. So yeah. Thanks for that submission. We have Barlis here. Okay, so first submission, I thought it was something in the air, maybe a cloud would suit well. I think it's too simple, honestly, but I'm not very happy with it. Yeah, I would say, this cloud shape, it's not very unique, especially when you consider other logos that have clouds in them. So one issue, I do like the type, but you have an issue of these two words kind of just cluttering, especially when you have different color. So this turquoise sort of color with this white, and then it touches the edge. I would move that over definitely, just a little bit though. So yeah, thanks for the entry. All right, Mr. Peer. All right, so here's this logo. You could clearly tell that it is a whistle, and we have a cloud. So this is pretty good symbolism, because you have the coaching aspect, and then you have the cloud. Just looking through this real quickly, clean and minimalistic geometric shapes, and that's all good. Yeah, the one thing to be desired is the type here, I would say. It's just not much thought. It kind of looks like not much thought has gone into it, and I'm not too sure if I like the idea that air is italicized and Coach does not, but again, that's just a minor gripe. But overall, pretty good. I think I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more saturated colors, perhaps. But either way, good entry. All right. So let's see here. I have avoided the cliche air driving human in parachute. Instead, having a cloud with a serif font could look meaningful and simple. All right, so there's a few issues here when it comes to the type and the form. So we have the cloud, and then we have inside of it the coach, and we have these 2 points intersecting, and it kind of makes it just a little bit cluttered. So I would try to find a way to separate this. Ideally, maybe just having air inside of this cloud, and then couch starting over couch. Am I really saying couch? Coach over here to the right. And this here, I understand the ideas with these little tails is to symbolize speed, perhaps, or falling through the air, but it looks like these could be done a little bit better, kind of just like 3 little lines hanging off the side. Also, when it comes to creating highlights like this is a little bit too thin. So if you were to scale this down, maybe on the size that you would use on a site, it would become a little bit cluttered. But yeah, otherwise, if you fix a few of those issues, I think it would be a lot better. All right, let's see here. I'm not going to read this initially, but when I looked at this, I thought to myself, okay, it's kind of like a arcing parachute thing, and maybe like a hand like grabbing or helping. So that's what I initially thought. Then I read this. So the orange shape is a parachute, actually. So I'm not sure if we can really get a parachute out of this, although you don't always have to be literal. I would say it's better not to be literal most of the times when it comes to depicting symbolism for logo design. So this arc, I actually kind of like the arc in a way, because in an abstract way, it can be symbolizing a parachute. I like the colors, and the font actually isn't too bad. I don't like this part here because it seems like this is italicized to the left and then just one's to the right. I'm not sure. But still, overall, it's good that you're trying to be abstract rather than literal. So thanks for the submission. All right, over here we have more of a literal representation, which is fine. But the one thing I would say is, you have, I kind of like this type down here, this coach type, but then you have air. And it's completely different. It's a lot taller, you could tell, and a lot thinner. And then you have this line here going here. It seems kind of a little bit unnecessary, especially when you have sort of a complex sort of shape right here. You want to try to keep everything else simple. So I would say take the same coach type and make that air for the air type as well. And things will be a little bit more simplified and uniform. All right, so thanks for the submission. All right, so here, I'm almost immediately reminded of Twitter, just because they have a similar sort of bird. I understand the symbolism behind this, though, because you have maybe like a mother and a child or something. Let's see what he said. Experiment bird teaching how to fly to a newbie. Yeah, so overall, not bad. I think there's probably a way to try to combine these into more of a single symbol, perhaps moving this one over and having some maybe like a thicker stroke behind this, and that way it becomes more like one symbol instead of two. But I like the idea behind it. Definitely different. All right, so let's see here. So I wanted to make the logo as fun and simple as possible. All right, so looking at this. All right, so yeah, it's actually not too bad. I love that it's simple, and this definitely is a unique take on it. So I would say this is pretty effective in terms of coming up with a concept. So I'm not too sure. Well, I'm not too sure if this red container is supposed to be a part of the logo or you're just featuring it. I would definitely possibly scale that down. You would have some issues using that in different areas, so it wouldn't be very versatile. But yeah, the concept itself, I do like it. So thanks for that. All right, so I think this is double post. All right, so over here, this I'm almost immediately reminded for some reason of a game. I don't know. There's probably been some logos in the past that have kind of used the same sort of approach. So when it comes to being unique, this may not be the most unique. I do like, assuming I've never seen a logo like this before, I would say this is really good, because you have the wings and it's on the side. And I would definitely say get rid of drop shadow because that's kind of overused in this specific usage, at least when it comes to the very soft drop shadow. Other than that, good entry. Let's see here. Quan 1. Let's see. All right. So the symbol depicts a skydiver with a whistle to represent the company. It's presented in two variants with two color schemes. All right. So looking at these, I do like this character like this. One thing that I don't like is the whistle and the mouth. You can't really tell that this is a mouth or that it's blowing or anything. It's kind of just stuck on there. It's a little bit confusing. And the whistle itself is a little bit complex when you have all these lines in here. Even though this is very simple, I like the individual character itself, but not so much the whistle, especially, you have a lot of moving parts here, and it becomes a little bit more, it's not the same aesthetic as this right here. So I would try to keep that uniform. I like the type though. This would be great without the whistle, actually, I would say. So yeah, thanks for that. All right, so again, we don't have any type of explanation, unfortunately, for this one. I would bet that this is an outline of a face that's probably already been used, probably not custom designed. So hopefully that's not the case because you run into some issues. But assuming that it is 100% unique, I it feels separate. You know, you have this symbol over here, and then you have this container over here with the type, and it doesn't feel uniform and consistent, or as one identifiable mark for a company. So I would work on trying to, I'd probably get rid of this red and this blue right here, and give this a red or a blue color for the Air Coach, and then move the symbolism over more on the same size and scale as the Air Coach. All right, so thanks for that post. Let's see. Don't think any explanation is needed. So I was saying couch earlier, which is kind of funny that this was submitted. Air Couch, as safe as it gets. Looking at this initially, I'm not sure if people would be able to connect the dots because it is quite abstract, which is good, but you can go so far to the point at which it could be like, well, I'm not too certain. I mean, I like the idea that it's very unique and it's a unique idea. So overall, yeah, not bad, not bad. All right, so moving on. All right, so Air Coach, this individual spent a lot of time on this, and I really like it actually. It's an abstract symbol, which is great, and it has a lot of, I guess you could say, character to it, and it's very consistent with the type and everything else here. So the star sometimes usually in reference to something that's like in the air or airplanes. I like that, and look how much this this person put into this. Is really cool. So skydiver, shooting star, and speed. These are all represented into this concept, which I love. Very, very good. So thanks for that entry. So this is probably the best entry that we got. All right, so coming down here, Air Coach, discover your daredevil. It's not great, but hopefully my answers will get better over time. All right, well, yeah, they will. Looking at this, of course, it's a literal representation, which isn't always desirable. But in terms of everything else, like the alignment and the type, I actually like it. So thanks for that submission. All right, so Air Coach here. Again, no explanation, but yeah, I'm not sure if this would be too appropriate in terms of a symbol, having kind of like the paper airplane sort of thing. Other than that, I would say it's not too bad. It kind of feels a little bit not too consistent in terms of the appearance, because you have the Air Coach and it's circled, but then this is hanging off to the side. I don't know. This is one thing that kind of bothers me. I can't really pinpoint it. But other than that, if you try to remember not to use these drop shadows, these soft shadows, because it's just overdone. And the gradient with a gray going to a dark blue doesn't really look good either. So just try to stick to, keeping it simple like these displays here. That will only help. All right, but thanks for the entry. All right, so we have down here, we're moving along. All right, so first time to participate. All right, so nothing really that's denoting what's going on here. So unfortunately, this one is a little bit too cluttered. There's a lot going on in the background. There's not much separation with the stroke and these lines down here, and I'm not sure what significance they have in terms of the relevance of the company. So if you were to scale this down, like I said, this would get blurry, these lines inside of here. So you definitely don't want that. You would want to have more of a stroke width on the type, separating the design that you have in the background. All right. So looking at this, I kind of just reading through this real quickly. The mark itself complements this idea of air and space, wind tunnel. All right. All right, so it's good that this type is kept simple. This actually isn't too bad. What I would like to see is more separation between these lines, because again, if we scaled this down a little bit more, it would become a little bit blurry. So just push them away from each other a little bit more, and I think it would be a little bit more effective. I do like the fact that it comes off the eye as well. So overall, good concept, and thanks for the submission. All right, looking at this, Air Coach. Okay, so I would say the one issue here is there's way too many lines, so you could have taken the route, of course, of just going solid shapes instead of having all these strokes here, and there's a lot going on. So it adds and creates for an issue of kind of complexity and clutter. I would say take these, get rid of the strokes, and just make them solid colors. That way it's a little bit more simple, and it's also just a little bit more, it appears stronger in a sense because you have clearly defined objects instead of just strokes and outlines. Same thing with the type. I would get rid of this type. It doesn't really fit in my opinion. And I would get rid of the strokes, and I would just make them solid colors. All right, but other than that, I understand what you're trying to go with this, and that's good. So thanks for that. All right, looking at this, the parachute, but also the blue colors for the sky. All right, so looking at this, yeah, it's an abstract representation of a parachute, and that's fine. Looking at this, I would say probably like this version a little bit better just because it's just a little bit easier to read. You have air and then this thing and then coach, opposed to just having this. Or you could have just moved this over here up to the top. So overall, good submission. Thanks. All right, so looking at this, reading this really quickly. Yeah, so I understand that the leg is supposed to serve as a part of the A, which is kind of cool. One thing I don't like is the colors, and especially the strings. They're blue, and it clashes with this orange color, so that's not ideal. So I would definitely find a way to remedy that because I don't like when colors touch each other in this manner. So it kind of creates, an issue of clutter and complexity. So other than that, this isn't too bad. Again, it's not abstract. It's pretty literal, but that's okay. Thanks for the submission. We have a different one down here. Kind of looking at both of these. Yeah, this may be a little bit better. I would say ditch the lines. You'll probably be able to tell that it's a parachute anyways, because the lines do create for a lot of complexity. So thanks for that. All right, so looking at this, again, I already put my thoughts on this. This is feels very NASA-ish, I guess you could say. It's an interesting sort of type. I would say a little bit hard to read initially just because, it's a really sci-fi sort of font. So maybe separating air in the form of changing its color to red perhaps might help that. In terms of the concept, I already gave my idea about the paper plane sort of thing, but it is kind of definitely cool. I'm not sure if I like this type of red with this blue right here, but overall good concept, I would say. Do you have just a few more here? All right, so this person didn't realize there's not supposed to be any taglines. No big deal, though. All right, so yeah, so this is a word mark, which is a blue color plane, which represents the sky color. All right, so I would say this is kind of not ideal because you have this really large symbol up here, which is obviously an airplane, and it's way too big when you compare it with the size of the air coach. So I would definitely scale this down a lot and probably ditch this sort of shadow or highlight because you don't have that highlight anywhere else, so it's kind of confusing and not very uniform and consistent. And then also the parachute down here, not too sure if I like that. I mean, this is so big it throws everything off. So if this were scaled down a little bit more, it may look a little bit better in my opinion. And I'm not sure if I like the two different colors here as well because they're both in the blue sort of category and one's just different. I'm not sure. I think the colors could use some work and this needs to be scaled down a lot. All right, so thanks for the submission. And again, I would not do this either because the lines, if you scale this thing down a lot or maybe by 100% or so, you're going to see that things are going to start looking blurry with all of these tiny lines. So I would definitely stick more with this opposed to this. All right, and this is our last one. All right, so no explanation was given. Yeah, see, and this is another issue. For some reason, for this contest, a lot of people did this. The stroke with this symbol here is too small to separate from the air right here. All right, so if we scaled this down, you're going to see that this stroke will almost vanish and it will become pixelated looking. So you need to increase the stroke of this quite a bit. In terms of where you placed it, I would probably just move it over the whole thing, this whole symbol right here. So it starts maybe right here and just cuts off the R. instead of going straight through error, because it makes it a little bit hard to read when it's like that. Other than that, it's very abstract, it's very simple, and I think if we just moved it over, it would be a pretty good concept actually. So thanks for that. All right, so that is it. Look forward to the 19th design challenge coming soon. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Seems like the logo designs challenges are pretty popular. So if you guys want me to keep doing logo design challenges, I will. Otherwise, if you have other ideas, let me know. So that is it. Check out designcourse.com if you haven't yet, and subscribe here on YouTube. All right, goodbye.